Samsung is going to announce another phone on August 5th. I'm sure it will be great. It'll have a
Three
screen.
new phones, Brad. Well, I mean, technically, as many as 5 new phones, I guess, but 3 new phone lines. New.
Why?
Who cares? I don't know. Yeah, I know. I actually thought they were going to get rid of the Note, because the Galaxy S20 or whatever it's called is.
No, I part of me believes that the only reason they announced the Note this time of the year is because they know it'll have a bigger screen and a stylus than the iPhone that will get announced 8 weeks later. That's it.
Yeah. It's hard to get excited about this one. I won't be buying any Samsung devices, I can tell you that with great
Should
certainty.
we quote you on that? Because I suspect it might.
No, I'm not doing it.
You will.
I obviously ping pong on this kind of stuff, but the last one I bought was like $1,300, dude. I mean, granted, I got a great trade in. I did, I ended up only paying about $700 for it, and my wife is using it now. Oh, speaking of which. Anyway, but yeah,
There's nothing I don't know. Maybe it's because the whole world's in the dumpster. But it's.
Look, if Google had ever shipped a 4A XL, which they won't, I would have been. I'm interested in that. I will look at the Pixel 5, knowing full well they're going to have no ultra wide lens, and I will just say, sayonara. I'm done with this.
Yeah.
iPhone is interesting, always interesting.
See, I could.
Yeah. No, new design now, right? They're going back to the iPad Pro style form factor.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't think the cameras are going to change that much, if at all.
No, I mean the more exciting stuff is the software, and that's very same for Android. The hardware is and I know we've talked about this before. Where I don't like using the word innovation, but that arc is
yeah. I mean, it's sharper on the software side. Yeah,
right. We're talking menial percentages, and I don't think I've had a phone in the past 3-4 years where I've said, "Oh, this thing is so slow." I'm waiting for
Oh, right.
Performance improvements or
So let me ask you a theoretical here, because this sort of came up in the comments to an article, which was, Apple just released the second developer beta of iOS 14 and all the other things they're releasing. Someone said, when is this shipping? Normally the answer is September, right? Because you usually wait until this release to upgrade your existing phone to the software, but they usually release the software when they announce the new iPhone.
Yep.
And then the new iPhone comes out typically, I don't know, a couple weeks later, something like that, or a week, 10 days, whatever. So if the iPhones are delayed until November, let's say, just to throw out a random date, do you think they will still release iOS 14 in September? Or do you think they wait?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I think they wait. I think it's going to depend on whenever their event is. I think that's going to be the catalyst. Because now, granted, I have not installed these betas, but people who have, and the people I trust that have installed them, said, "Hey, this is actually pretty good. It's not the dumpster fire that we had seen in the previous years." And if you remember, it was reported back, I think November, that Apple was overhauling how they were going to develop in their beta process, and it looks like the fruits of that labor are quite literally.
Yeah. By the way, they did the same thing when they did iOS 11, and then
this is full circle.
Yeah. So, but yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, it's notable how many releases of iOS 13 there have been. I mean, especially right up front, there were between September and December, they probably released 8 or 10 versions of this, just trying to get it right. Yeah, I mean, I don't use the iPhone full time, so I can't really judge it. But it seems fine. I like it. This is it's not quite the full experience I was hoping for with the icons and everything, but
that'll get there by about iOS 17 probably. 18,
yeah, sure, right. By the time we're not even using smartphones anymore, they'll finally figure that one out. But yeah, no, I like it. I like it, and they've turned these widget things from a uninteresting sideshow to okay, cool. Which, by the way, I will say, as far I know everyone's like, well, we had live tiles in Windows Phone, and Android has had widgets or whatever they call them on Android for a long time, and they do. And I use exactly one widget on any phone. It's just like a combination weather time thing that Google throws in there, and it's nice. It just takes up some space, and You can tell at a glance what the weather is. But I don't add widgets to any of my screens. And I went through that process. You could probably find an article I wrote about it years ago, making the transition from Windows Phone. You're like, well, what if I put widgets on the home screen? It could kind of be like live tiles. And the truth is, the performance then is actually pretty terrible. And widgets on Android are just not that sophisticated. So I think Apple has a nice chance to get this right. They tend to do it right, when they do it. So it looks good, at least. I don't know.
Yep, that'll arrive this fall. So that is that. Right after we finished yesterday's podcast, Peggy Johnson, who is a lead business development for Microsoft, I think like the very top part of the inner circle, if you will, is taking a job at Magic Leap, which is...
Should take a leap, frankly.
Yeah. How much cash do you think was up on front of that table when they said, hey, you want to come join us? Because it would have to be a lot.
If you look this company up, the one thing you will see is cash. Meaning a routine influx of cash to keep this company going. Like it has consistently needed cash. Like it just doesn't. So yeah, I should briefly address an issue which I've seen raised again and again in kind of a wink fashion. It's like, is Peggy Johnson the next Stephen Elop? Because people believe that Stephen Elop was some kind of a Trojan horse sent to Nokia to undermine them and then bring them into the fold, which is not true, by the way. But Peggy Johnson is the next Stephen Elop, an incredibly ambitious executive at a company who will never rise to the rank of CEO at that company, and has thus been shopping her services around in this case. And, like Stephen Elop, just wanted to be CEO, And I know people have really strong opinions about Elop. I think he was incredible. I thought he was great, and no one was going to save that company. He did the best he could. But as far as someone who cares more about products than about corporate intrigue or whatever, I respected that guy because he knew everything about every single one of the devices that they sold. Like he was thoroughly invested in this, and that's not true of a lot of people who I see at whatever rank at whatever company. So anyway, yeah, she's going to fail. So
the thing is, though, is on the flip side, yep. I mean, given what Magic Leap is trying to do, she's actually not like, it's not a stretch for her. It's not like they pulled somebody who was working, I don't know, like on baskets and said, hey, go do this. Because Magic Leap is trying to save the company by selling to enterprise. And what is Peggy Johnson's background? Selling to enterprise.
Yeah, she probably doesn't know anything about VR or AR, but that's not the point. What that company probably does need is someone who's good with
somebody who can call up Coca-Cola and be like, "Hey, let's talk." Like that's what they need.
Yeah, like it's not like Stephen Elop knew anything about mobile. What he ran Office before. I mean, he wasn't like a mobile guy.
Yeah.
But whatever. Yeah.
And so some insiders at the company, we were just kind of chatting about this, and part of it's like, she's not 23. She's, to your point, she's never going to become CEO of Microsoft.
Right.
She's clearly, as an executive vice president, Microsoft was not living to paycheck. She's probably not even working for even money at this point at all. And it's like, let's just take a risk.
She came to Microsoft from Qualcomm, right? Which I had kind of forgotten about. But she had been at Microsoft for 14 years.
Mm-hmm. So it's for Magic Leap, it's probably fine. Unlike Amazon, when this person left, Microsoft is not suing Peggy into the ground like they were doing to Brian Hall, and so it's
which kind of shows you how they feel about Magic Leap as a competitor.
I mean, there's that. I didn't even think of it from that perspective, but it is like,
well, they're not suing Brad because she is a Trojan horse. See, that proves the point.
I'll tell you what, though, if any part of Magic Leap ever sells and Microsoft buys it,
we'll never hear the end of it.
Never.
Yeah. But I think it's fair to say that when Magic Leap does diverge from its assets or whatever, I mean, of course, Microsoft would be one of the companies that would potentially want some of that. But I got almost.
I'm not going to say I guarantee it, but I would bet they won't. The reason being is one of the largest financial backings of this company is Google.
Yeah, right. So oddly enough, even as I was saying that, I was thinking to myself, which would make any competitor to Microsoft want it instead and keep it out of Microsoft's hands, whatever. I don't know. I don't know enough about it. I suspect companies will look at this and make a decision one way or the other if it's worth anything. I mean, It
Yeah.
obviously hasn't done well, and it was
No, it's
vaporware for several years, and then completely underwhelmed everyone when it arrived. So
well, one of the challenges they have right now is because of the negative press cycle that they've been in for a year, maybe more. Is
yep.
let's use Coca-Cola as an example. Both Peggy walks in and Satya walks in into separate rooms. They do their pitches and they say, "Okay, we need an AR solution. We're going to spend $1 billion on deploying this to everybody in the manufacturing center." If you look at both of those companies, you're like, well, which one's going to be around? Which one do we know is not going to fold in the next
Yep.
5 years? Well, Microsoft's making money hand over fist. Magic Leap is
Wow.
struggling.
That's an interesting, not corollary, but kind of a contradictory axiom of some kind to the notion that, like, as a consumer, you should go for companies that just do this one thing. So, for example, like if you want a music service, you go to Spotify because that's all they do, and like they obviously really care about it. But the problem is when you only do that one thing and it fails, and like it's over. Whereas a company like Google or Apple, it might have a music service too. If that service fails, or Microsoft, it doesn't really impact anything, right? The world goes on; it's fine, and that's kind of interesting. Also, you've reminded me of a story that's probably apocryphal, but when Satya Nadella became CEO of Microsoft, he went around the company and was looking at all the stuff people were working on, and HoloLens was one of the things that really excited him. And Microsoft, the team that was making it, saw it as a consumer product, saw it as a game kind of a thing. And he said, supposedly, I mean, it was, like I said, probably is a myth, but he supposedly was the one who saw the benefit of this thing in different markets and said, no, you got to keep working on this. Like this is something that is, going to be big more broadly than what you think. And Magic Leap has come to the same conclusion, right? Because wasn't this thing originally kind of a consumer game thing, and then
Yeah, I
they
mean,
kind of went after the enterprise or whatever?
it was definitely when they launched it, they weren't quite sure where it was going to land. I mean, I think they had some ideas, but
Yeah.
we've talked about it. Like they showed off Minecraft, and the Minecraft demo, which
Right.
I've done, I think you've done it as well, was great.
Yep. Oh,
But
it's fantastic.
it
Yeah.
wasn't $2,000 great.
No, I mean, like, right. I mean, that's the problem, right? So, in the consumer world, we've seen where AR has kind of gone. Like when someone has an iPad or a phone and they're walking around a museum, whatever, they can do that again, or playing Minecraft Dungeons. Is that the name of it? Whatever the AR experience is. Probably not Minecraft Dungeons, whatever it's called.
Yeah, I think it's called Dungeons.
Yeah, I can't remember. It doesn't matter. But the idea is like it's approachable, it's affordable, it's gonna succeed because of those things. Like Minecraft on HoloLens may be awesome, and it was freaking awesome, but no one's paying $3,000 for like a headset so that they could tether themselves, or I guess they're not technically tethered, but that's
Well,
the point.
it's not. It's even worse than that. Nobody's paying $2,000 to put it on their kid's head.
Right. I don't want my daughter to have a $30 thing, let alone a $3,000 thing. I mean,
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with Peggy Johnson. We obviously wish her luck, and
she's gonna need it. I don't
know.
I don't see this.
I don't think
company
she listens to us every day.
She doesn't have to. She got it. She got it. That she checked that box. She did it. CEO. And whatever happens, happens. And the beautiful thing about this, it was like ELOP at Nokia, same thing. If it fails, they were failing for years. I did everything I could.
Yep, that's why I made the joke. If day one she issues a burning memo platform or burning platform
Yes.
memo, it's
Yes, a burning platform. She should. That would be funny.
yeah, and that would be
shooting for humor, but
it would be good. So whatever. That is that. Apple has released another beta 2, which is kind of how we got talking about that earlier. If you're in that beta camp,
yeah, I haven't noticed a thing. I installed it on the iPhone and on the Mac, and there are probably articles out there detailing the 150 changes, but I haven't seen a single difference. Visually, it's not different at all, from what I can tell.
So there we go. It's that's kind of the headlines du jour, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
something like that.
Slow this week so far, in a way.
Yeah, well, it is. I keep forgetting it's July, which is another challenge, personal challenge.
As I call today, June 38th.
It's, I don't know,
the never-ending summer of COVID.
The summer of '69. This is the summer of 19.
The summer of Sam. Yeah, my wife was complaining because it's been too hot and humid.
Oh, it's been
I'm
terrible.
like, yeah, that's the worst thing that's happened this year. It's been terrible.
Looking back,
You can't spend any time outside.
I thought about making a meme for the Twitters of the Internet Explorer logo and say, "So did you guys hear about those Australian wildfires?"
Oh, boy.
Just top-notch stuff today.
How many hours left? Oh, God, all of them.